Hi BookTube, it's Amy. I'm here for my Friday reads. It's Thursday, late afternoon at the moment, and as you can see, it's been snowing and it continues to snow. Almost all our snow had melted, and I don't know how much we've got down there. I haven't been outside since last night, but I heard anywhere between 25 and 40 centimeters, although some of it was rain and freezing rain in the night, so a little bit less of an accumulation than first forecasted, but it's still winter here, not spring yet, waiting on that spring. Definitely going to be a night in reading for me, and potentially into Friday and Saturday as well, depending on how long it takes them to clean up from this storm. So on to the actual books. I have been reading, as you've probably seen, based on a couple of videos I posted in the last week. I've been reading some Samuel Beckett. So I read his play Endgame, talked a tiny bit about that in a video, and I've started his novel Malloy, which is in this volume here. I'm about 40 pages in, most of which have detached themselves from the book, and it really is kind of a bizarre work. So our main character, who doesn't remember his name, doesn't remember his mother's name, doesn't remember the name of the town that he lives in, isn't really sure where he's at, is attempting to go visit his mother. His mother, who is apparently blind and deaf and immobile, and in a room somewhere. It sounds as though it's a nursing home of some sort. He is going to visit her, and he is not in the best shape himself. He was sort of lounging somewhere watching people go by, and then he decided to get up and he hops on his bicycle. The funny thing is, he didn't remember he owned a bicycle until he hopped on it, and he has crutches, so it's quite an awkward way to bicycle along, and he doesn't go more than, I think he called it 100 yards or 100 meters or something. He doesn't go very far before he has to stop and rest, and stopping to rest gets him in a bit of trouble, and he runs into all these situations with the police and with this woman and her dog, and that's all in the first 40 pages. And where I've left him now, he is sort of wandering, and he's not sure whether he's even in his own town, which is an absolutely absurd situation, because the way he tells it, he's never been in any other town but his own town that he grew up in. And so it's odd that he wouldn't recognize the landmarks of his own town. He describes it as his feet always taking him where he wants to go, but he doesn't necessarily know where he is. And so it's kind of odd, because we don't know why he has gotten himself into this situation, why he's in this situation, why his memory has gone, why he doesn't recognize people or places. The opening scene is him in a room. He thinks it's his mother's room, but she isn't there. So that would indicate that he is now in some sort of institution. And I would bet that it's probably not his mother's room. It just looks like it. He thinks that his mother is perhaps dead. He is writing pages. Someone is taking the pages away and bringing him money, and then they're bringing the pages back with corrections on them. And he describes it as telling a story, but he doesn't know where to begin. He doesn't know where the beginning is or where the end is. So it's an interesting work. I'm enjoying it so far. It's not something you breeze right through. It does take a little bit of concentration to follow what's going on, but something I'm enjoying so far. I still have Barchester Towers by Trollope on the go. Just 60 pages in, no farther really than last week, but it's sort of on my side table because I am reading the Beckett right now. Although I do really want to jump into this, and I may set the Beckett aside to read on and finish the Trollope. But as I said, lots of reading going to be happening this weekend, most likely, given the weather. I also sort of have on the go, earlier this week I read 60 pages of The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir, and despite being a big fan of Simone de Beauvoir, I have never read this. I've tried to get into it a couple of times, but it sat on my shelf. I went back and forth between my own place and the bookshelf at my parents' place. I took this out to Vancouver, British Columbia with me 3 years ago, intending to read it on vacation. I dragged it all over creation, and here it sits, 60 pages in, and these are 60 pages that I read before, but I reread them the other night, and I think I'm having an easier go of it this time. It definitely doesn't seem cumbersome to read, and it doesn't seem unintelligible as it did the first attempt I made at it several years back. And I actually wonder why I ever found it difficult. I suppose it's just, a shift in the way I approach texts and perhaps my own reading abilities. But that's sort of on my radar. Definitely not going to be finishing that this weekend or this coming week, but I am going to read a bit more. And now here's something I won't necessarily start reading, but I did pick it up. Last week I read the memoir by Deidre Bear, and so I decided to pick up her biography of Simone de Beauvoir that she talks about writing in that memoir. Now I think I've taken this out of the library before. I actually think I had it sitting on the floor at my old rental room back when I was in grad school. And it sat on that floor for probably 4 or 5 months as I renewed it several times. But I never actually got around to reading it. And my initial thoughts when I took it back to the library was, I don't really need to read a biography of Simone de Beauvoir because she told me everything I needed to know about her in her multi-volume memoir. But I've had a bit of a change of thinking because as I've read more about her and read, letters and journals and people's accounts of her, I've realized that her memoirs were, as you would expect, heavily tailored and heavily censored, and there's a lot missing from there. And so in this biography, I'll get a lot of details about her and about her life that she perhaps didn't want to share or didn't think were important enough or preferred to forget. And so I think that's interesting in and of itself. And I picked this up at Book Bazaar on the weekend. So that is generally what I'm up to, what I'm reading this weekend and the coming week. Let me know what you're reading in the comments below and if you've read any of these. And I hope you have a great reading weekend.